I've made 4 fundamental changes to my running during 2023, and today we're going through what they are. I've been running now for nearly 9 years, and most of the time it's been great. Sometimes it's not so great, and other times it's injury. Now for me, 2023 has been about reframing my approach to running, how I train, how I approach each week, and in general a mindset shift that's allowed me to probably have my best year in running in terms of training, racing, and staying injury free. Now rookie errors have led me to 2 subpar performances this year, but out of the 10 races, or 9 maybe, that I've taken part in this year, most of them have been really good. PBs in the 5k, 10k, half marathon and full marathon has meant that I'm wrapping up 2023 as probably my most successful year. So today I want to dive in and talk about what those 4 fundamental changes are. Hopefully they can help you guys too. Now, the first thing has just been to dial it back. This is such a generic phrase, but I'm meaning it across the board in terms of training, in terms of how I approach each week, in terms of effort levels, everything I've just notched back a tiny bit. What I would often find in training, especially if I was in a session, is that I'd be really pushing, trying to get the most out of myself during a session, or at least try and squeeze that top end of where I was trying to get to. So as an example, if I was trying to run 10k pace intervals, then I'd really try and push almost PB 10k pace intervals rather than just settling for what my 10k pace is or effort right now and just being comfortable with it. And with that being said, I've got to the end of the year and done a couple of sessions now that have shown major improvement over recent years. Those are something like 400 meter repeats and 1k repeats, which I've actually done this week. Great example, the 400 meters, I really struggled to get anywhere near 75 seconds. In the 400 meters, I was usually averaging around 76, 77, 78. And this year I did 12 by 400 off 60 seconds and averaged 74 seconds, which for me is such a big improvement. Likewise with the 1k reps, I did a nice simple 6 by k session this morning when I'm recording this video, and I averaged 3:17 per k. Now I haven't been able to get anywhere near that pace even up to the beginning of this year. I would always be between 3:23 and 3:30 per k, and that's just because of consistently controlled training, dialing it back a little bit, not forcing it when I would usually force it, and just continually thinking to myself that I want to be okay and fit and fresh for my next session. So just across the board in everything I'm doing, not trying to push it too much in each session, not trying to push my easy run pace, dialing it back on my steady pace days when I feel like I need to, and then feeling good on some steady days and pushing the normal pace, just basically adjusting where I see fit. Listening to that body has been key. And racing less is the second thing that I have really benefited from this year, which for me, deep down, I love racing. I love to get out there for races, but actually what it's done overall for my performance is allowed for more training time. It's not compromised. Well, here's the example. I normally race between 16 to 18 times a year in a variety of either 5k up to marathons and everything in between, usually 10ks and halves. This year, I'm pretty sure it's 9 today, and I'll wrap it up with 10 after Christmas with a fun 10k. 10 times this year I've raced, and that's it. Now there were a couple that were scuppered by injury. They were shorter distance 5ks, but overall the longer distance stuff, 10ks and above, I've held back from racing. And what I guess that's allowed me to do is train a little bit more, race a bit less, so I'm getting more bang for my buck. Good example, once again, my year has been marathon training, then a little break, and then speed work training for 10 weeks, and then a half marathon block. And now I'm in that little void before going into some base marathon training leading into London next year. My half marathon block was 10 or 11 weeks long, and I raced once in the middle of it, and I took that race as a session. That was a 10-mile race. Otherwise, I got my head down, knuckled down, and then trained for basically 10 weeks. Got myself a new half marathon PB, bringing it down from 75 minutes and 14 seconds to 73 minutes and 53 seconds. So I feel like what's happened overall throughout the year is that by racing less, I've just kind of got into that mindset of, right, do you know what? I know where my fitness is at. If I go and race again in the next couple of weeks, nothing is really going to be different. I might get another few seconds PB, but hey, I want to be taking some decent chunks off of my time. So I need to get my head down and train. And that has just been such a game changer for me. So although I do love racing and want to get out there, and I'd be prepared in 2024 to potentially do a couple more, as long as I take them as sessions, sessions and take them as part of the training package. But yeah, overall in general, just scaling it back slightly on the racing front has paid dividends long term. And number 3, letting somebody else manage my training has been absolutely brilliant, i.e. having a coach. I've really struck gold with Will. I feel so lucky. And again, he's led me to the 4 PBs that I've got this year. And there's been other PBs in different random distances, but those 4 have been the pillar stones this year, and I'm so grateful. Just like all of his other athletes, because I get asked this all the time if we're doing some kind of swapsy. I pay Will normal price for his coaching service, and I absolutely get bang for my buck with that man. So grateful. And what that's allowed me to do, a couple of things. He's kind of discussed on various levels about racing. So he's had a say in the volume of racing I've done this year. He said, do you really need to race that? Do you want to race that? Why are you racing that? What's the purpose of it? We can get a really good training session in here, or do you just want sort of a vanity PR where you might get another second or 2 off, or it might go wrong and you've wasted a weekend? Let's just think about this logically, which has kind of put that mindset shift in me. And then also coming off the back of races, something I never used to do really for myself is I'd neglect sort of recovery post-race. Even if it's just a 10K, I'd often sort of get straight back in the next day with some kind of moderate or steady run and then straight back into full training. What I find with Will is he's so sensible. He gives me sort of a couple of days where he reduces things down, and again, that's nice and easy efforts. And that's got me into the mindset of understanding that even if it's a 10K, it's still quite a hard effort that you've put your body through. And again, you want to string these weeks of training back to back to back. Consistency is key, all of that stuff. And so by putting those recovery couple of days in place, that's then put that into my mindset that when I'm in my off season without him, like now, I'm also doing the same. I raced the other week and I made sure I put an easy day the day after it, and I just scaled back the volume slightly. It's these little things that are obviously me understanding that I need to recover, but also ingraining it into my brain that I can string these, as I said, weeks back to back. So for me, he's been brilliant. And of course, if you're looking for coaching, links are in the description for myself, because I'm now coaching some athletes. Got some great athletes on the books already, looking at those spring marathons, cross-country season, and everything in between. So if you're looking for coaching, do feel free to get in touch. And number 4, I made sure I had some good downtime post big training blocks, but also I didn't lose the focus. So I've always been a big advocate of like having a week off, at least after a decent training block, especially like a marathon block. And realistically, a lot of people take a little bit longer, but a lot of people just don't take enough time off. And I always make sure that I come back with a really low key week the week after and the week after that. So I don't ever start any serious training, and it's not even really that serious until 3 weeks post marathon. And half marathon, I'll even take a few days off after that, and I'll just let my body reset. But the key here is I've done that in the past. It's also about not losing the focus. So in that downtime, I've structured my training to come back nicely so that when I get back with Will after a 3, 4, 5 week break, I'm ready to go again. And I've made sure that I've kept up some sensible sessions, again low key, but keeping things nice and short and sharp. It's been absolutely brilliant, because what it means is I don't go into a training block feeling flat. In the past, what I've done is I've come off the back of a training block, I've had some downtime, I've just kind of come back very casually relaxed, lost a little bit of focus, lost a bit of fire, and then when I'm ready and committed to that training block, I kind of feel like I'm a step back from where I need to be to go again. Whereas this year, every year, I kind of feel like I've started on that level playing field that I was when I finished the marathon block, ready to push on again. And again, that has attributed to a lot of better performances this year. For me, again, just talking about that constant in your mind, keeping that focus throughout a training block, out of the training block, through the training block, out of the training block, keeping that eye on the prize in the future, again, has just been a great mindset shift for me. And so the pattern with these 4 things is all about wanting to be consistent. So I've mentioned in previous videos, and I think I said, I want to train the week after. I want to train the week after. That's what's running through my head when I'm doing a session or I'm doing an easy run. I want to be healthy for the next run. I'm already thinking about next week. I'm thinking, am I causing any detrimental damage to myself if I push here? Do I need to hold? Do I need to control? And as I said, all of these things lead and boil down to wanting to be consistent and turning that doorknob, as Seth would say, every single time I go out there for a run. So dialing it back, keeping it nice and controlled, racing less. So again, keeping things calm calmer, not overexerting myself, having someone manage my training for me, and then keeping the focus during those training blocks. These are all things that lead down to wanting to continually get out the door the next day. That's what my permanent mindset is and has been this year. And again, I can say a massive thanks to Will for helping me become a much more sensible and calmer runner this year, and hopefully that will continue into next year. So if you picked up that pattern throughout the video, well done. You've obviously watched previous videos, and that's what I'm trying to articulate here, is that everything that I've done this year to have that mindset shift is just to allow me to turn that doorknob the next day. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on this topic as well. Obviously, I produce a lot of sort of top tip videos, top workout videos, and all of this stuff which are geared towards sort of really basically training style stuff. But this is a bit more of a holistic mindset approach to running, which has just made everything so much better. I don't think it's talked about enough on YouTube, if I'm honest with you. A lot of us put out videos that are geared towards people, helping them with training, helping them with session ideas, helping them with shoes, helping them with all of that sort of stuff. But I think there's a deeper connection here with the way we think about running, just becoming a smarter runner. Again, sort of nearly 9 years into this now, I'm really starting to understand, and it's an ever evolving sport, it's an ever learning process, and I feel like the longer you go with it, the more you start to understand your body, where you can push, where you can hold. And again, having a little bit of guidance there in terms of a coach has just been really beneficial for me anyway. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on that as well. Please do drop a comment below. It will be great to hear from you down there. That's it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please do consider giving it a like, share it with your friends, and of course, subscribe to the channel for weekly running content. And I'll see you in the next one. Until then.